guys so much for coming out. Nice to see you again, Kelsey. So I am Jeanette Moll. I am a pro-life, pro-gun, conservative mother of 5. I'm running to replace Zach's face because he needs to come home here to Tusk and find a new job. And I'm hoping you'll help me do that. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, talk a little bit about the issues, and then I want to turn it over to you because one of the things that I think our country's gone completely off path with, and particularly our member of Congress, is not listening to you. Not listening to what you have to say, not listening to your concerns. So I really want to get to your questions and concerns, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I went to the University of Notre Dame. While I was there, I worked at the Department of Treasury. I won an award for service there. It was actually back when they did, and this will show my age, when they converted from the computer card checks to the paper checks. Anybody remember that? Anyway, I worked on that public awareness campaign with Secretary Baker, and then I went back to work in D.C. when I graduated from college, and I worked for the United States Congress for what was then the General Accounting Office. It's now called the General Accountability Office. Now I know that's hard to believe there's an office called that because we all know they're not doing that. But nevertheless, that is where I worked. I am the only Republican running who's worked for Congress and who's worked on federal legislation. I worked on legislation that was coming out of 8 congressional committees for GAO. I left there to open the Washington, D.C. office of Ducks Unlimited. And what we did is in our first 2 weeks of opening that office, we organized Bush 41's first environmental address in front of 400 Ducks Unlimited members working with the Secret Service. It was a very exciting time to be there. I worked on a lot of legislation like the Farm Bill, the Clean Water Act, and I worked on federal gun legislation 20 years ago. So when I tell you I'm pro-gun, I didn't make that position or decide to be that yesterday. I've been doing that for 2 decades. I worked in that office and decided I wanted to come back to Ohio to raise my girls. I had graduated from college with an infant and a 1-year-old because I don't talk pro-life, I live it. And so my husband and I came back to Ohio, which is where we're from, and he was in management with RPS, which is the predecessor to FedEx Ground. And they said, we're moving you to Cambridge. And we said, great, where is that? And so we moved to southeastern Ohio about 20 years ago now. We moved here when Kendra was in kindergarten and Cassie was in 1st grade, and they are both now college graduates, so that was obviously a few years ago. I came back, I drove 150 miles a day for 3 years to get my law degree from New Concord to Ohio State. I just tell people that was good practice for running around 16 counties, because I obviously am willing to put on the miles to get to my goal. So I don't expect anybody to do it for me. You know, we've got this entitlement society. I understand the American dream is pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and working hard to get where you want to go, and that's what I've done. I came out and worked for the Guernsey County Court of Common Pleas. I was on the bench there for 10 years as a magistrate. Something you might not know, but because half of the nation passes through 70 and 77 in a year, it has the highest per judge caseload in the state of Ohio. Your judges are assigned and determined by your population. So Guernsey County has 1 common pleas judge who handles 1,600 cases a year with 2 magistrates. So we were quite busy there, and obviously it's a small town. I worked on a variety of different kinds of laws. I stepped down from the bench to run in March of 2008. You cannot hold a judicial seat in Ohio and run for a non-judicial office because judges and magistrates have to be nonpartisan. And clearly, as I speak tonight, you'll know that I'm not nonpartisan. So anyway, so I stepped down, opened my own law practice. I do practice law in 8 counties. I am very specialized. I do contested family cases. You know, the ones where you get a protection order first and then you get custody or the divorce because there's death threats and whatever. That's what I do. So anyway, I do that in 8 counties. I don't do that in your county. I don't come quite this far. But that's what I do in my spare time is practice law. I did get tied up in court yesterday with a hearing that was supposed to be done at 4:15, and at 10 to 5 I looked at the judge and I'm like, Judge, I have to be in Harrison County in an hour and I'm speaking tonight. Can you let me go? Luckily he was a Republican. He let me go. He was very understanding about it. We'll finish the case next week. So anyways, so that's what I do for a living. I am married to my high school sweetheart, and we have been together for 27 years. And our oldest is Cassie. She is 24. No, she's 24 next month. So I was just telling somebody the debate night is on her 24th birthday. She is 23. She is a 10th grade science teacher and a soccer coach. in Florida. She had been a goalkeeper at John Glenn High School, and then she played goalkeeper at Florida Tech. So she's doing the two things she loves, which is science and soccer. She's married to a great young man who's in ministry, and they just adopted my first grand puppy. I have a dachshund named Hoagie, so I haven't met him yet. And then my second oldest is Kendra. She is a clinical psychiatric assistant. And actually, if you Google Moll and healthcare right now, she's all very proud because her name comes up first. Because she was playing soccer at the University of Miami Coral Gables on Sunday, right before the vote. And a reporter pulled up with a television crew, and they were asking them, they're like, okay, well, you guys are 21 to 26. You currently can't stay on your parents' insurance. This is going to allow you to do that. How do you feel about it? And everybody else was, that's great. And Kendra said, well, you know, even though that benefits me, that doesn't justify the fact that the rest of the bill is bad. So, anyway, she made the newspaper article, she made the television thing, and now if you Google Moll and healthcare, she comes up before me. So, anyway, I'm going to have to get something else out there because I told her I still win, even if she beat me on that one temporarily. So we then adopted two boys from Children's Services 10 years ago. They are now 12 and 13, and we adopted their little sister 3 years ago. She is 8, and they are great campaigners. They were out on the trail with me on Monday at a town hall, so they got the night off tonight, but you'll see them periodically depending on what I'm doing. So that's a little bit about my background. I want to talk about the issues because the bottom line is I think we've moved to a point in this nation, we've got to move past the sound bites, past the 30-second commercials. We need to stop listening to what the politicians talk when they're on the campaign trail. We need to get past the people who are talking the talk and see who's actually walking the walk. I don't personally believe people go to D.C. and change. I think they weren't who they said they were to begin with. So when I tell you I'm pro-life, I graduated from college with an infant and a 1-year-old. I've done 3 special needs adoptions. I live pro-life 24/7. So that is my life. That's why I've been endorsed by the pro-family conservative group, Family First. I'm very proud of that. When I tell you I'm pro-gun, again, I'm not just saying that on the trail. I'm a concealed carry permit holder. I opened the Washington office of Ducks Unlimited, and I have a national award from the NRA for representing your Second Amendment right to bear arms in front of the United States Supreme Court. And when we look at the issues that are facing this district right now, the #1 issue is jobs and the economy. You guys know as well as I do that we were in a recession in southeastern Ohio before there was a recession. We have got to have leadership that has solutions and is willing to do what needs to be done. And I'll tell you, we're at a crossroads in our nation's history because I get asked, Jeanette, what's the first thing you're going to do in office? And I have to tell you, it's probably one of the first times that the answer is, I'm going to go there and stop it. Not go there and do this. I'm going to go there and stop healthcare reform. It's bad for this nation. It's unconstitutional, and it needs to be stopped. I'm going to go there and stop cap and trade. Cap and trade is going to hit this district. This is going to be one of the hardest hit in the nation. We're going to lose manufacturing jobs, coal mining jobs, farming jobs, distribution jobs. The jobs that are the backbone of the 18th are all at risk by this legislation that was passed by Zach Space in the committee on the floor, and that he took $14,000 from Nancy Pelosi within hours of that vote so he could sell out you, your jobs, and our economy. It has to be stopped. It's resulted in companies like Rosebud Mining, which is in Carroll and Harrison County, where the unemployment rate is well over 15%. They were going to add 400 jobs. They stopped because they can't afford to take on that risk when they don't know what's going to happen with this huge new tax that's pending in Congress.